What? The group was taken aback. They exchanged glances, unsure of how to react. What are you doing still standing there? Kneel down. Landon turned around and roared at them. Right. Kneel. The crowd snapped out of their daze and kneeled without hesitation. Even the Minister of War was on his knee. How could they hesitate? The earlier high-ranking officials who were full of pride were now submissive under the princess consort of Theseus's imposing presence. Tyler, what's going on? Did Sir Hyde offend the princess consort of Theseus before? Kate trembled as she knelt on the ground. How am I supposed to know? Tyler said through gritted teeth in frustration. We can only hope that the princess consort of Theseus will not implicate us Grants, Arthur said, swallowing dryly. He had lost his previous arrogance. It was now replaced with fear and anxiety. The princess consort of Theseus' appearance had changed the situation unexpectedly. You bunch of impudent scum. You would have lost your heads if the Prince of Theseus was here. The beautiful woman sneered. Then, under the watchful eyes of many, she walked up to Dustin. Her previously proud and cold demeanor disappeared. It was now replaced with a rare smile. Logan, long time no see. How have you been all these years? Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. I've been living quite well. Dustin nodded slightly without arrogance. While he didn't exactly hate the woman before him, he didn't have positive feelings about her either. 10 years had gone by so quickly. You've grown so much, I almost didn't recognize you. She smiled, then waved to someone behind her. Austin, why are you still standing there? Come and greet your brother. Logan. Austin stood frozen in place, examining Dustin from head to toe. His expression betrayed his astonishment, joy, and disbelief. He rubbed his eyes. After making sure it wasn't a mistake, he suddenly leaped into Dustin's arms and held him tight. Bawling loudly, he cried, Logan, I've missed you so much. I couldn't believe it when our old man first said you were alive. But you are alive. This is great. 10 years. It's been 10 years. Do you know how I've been living for the past 10 years? You promised to take me on adventures around the world, but you left me all alone at home instead. You're so heartless. Austin disregarded his image as he cried bitterly in Dustin's arms. He looked like a wife who had just been abandoned. Okay, that's enough. You're in your 20s now. Does it make sense for you to cry like this? Dustin patted his shoulder. Austin Reese was Dustin's half-brother from a different mother and a mischievous troublemaker. In public, this young man feared nothing. But he didn't dare be unruly in front of Dustin. And that was because Dustin had beaten him up many times since childhood. Yet, this young man clung to him like chewing gum. The more he beat him up, the more he became attached, so much that he couldn't shake him off. I'm just happy, all right? Austin said as he continued bawling. We've reunited after so long. Can't I cry a little? He sniffled. The people around them were dumbfounded and in utter shock. Wasn't that the princess consort of Theseus' son? Why did he look like a fool? If you're going to cry, do it later. I have something to deal with right now. Dustin pushed Austin, who was covered in snot, away in disgust. Oh, I almost forgot. Austin wiped his tears away and turned his attention to Landon. He was upset when he said, Logan, is this old man bullying you? I'll teach him a lesson. As soon as he said that, he charged toward Landon. Your Highness Landon was about to say something when Austin jumped up and kicked him in the face. Landon was sent flying from the impact and fell heavily to the ground, groaning in pain. He bled from his nose and even lost 2 teeth, looking extremely disheveled. You old geezer, do you know who you've offended? Austin rolled up his sleeves and stepped on Landon's chest. He declared loudly, listen up. The person you provoked is my brother, the legendary Kirene, and the future prince of West Lucosia. Are you dumb? How dare you challenge the Reese family and the entire West Lucosian monarchy? Austin's hands were on his hips. With one foot stepping down on Landon's chest, he launched into a violent tirade. Every word he uttered was an earth-shattering revelation that shocked the crowd. For a moment, the entire scene was covered in silence. Everyone was dumbfounded and in disbelief. They could never have imagined that Dustin had hidden such a huge secret. He was Austin's eldest brother, the unparalleled Kirene, and the Crown Prince of West Lucosia. The three revelations weighed upon them like three massive mountains. I know who he is now. He was that monstrous genius who stirred Oakvale into a storm 10 years ago. Logan Reese. What? Logan Reese? Isn't he supposed to be dead? How can he still be alive? Logan Reese. It's Logan Reese. Oh my goodness. How did we manage to offend such an influential figure? After a brief silence, the entire scene erupted into chaos. Everyone had their attention on Dustin. Their faces displayed astonishment, fear, doubt, and mostly disbelief. Logan Reese was the Kirene of the Reese family and a true legend. 10 years ago, he was already a name that shook the world and dominated the scene. All the other geniuses were nothing compared to him. Even the Spanner family twins trailed far behind him. Claiming that Logan was simply unmatched a decade ago wasn't an exaggeration. No one was able to accomplish what he had done. He's the Kirene. Logan Reese. The color drained from Landon's face as he froze in place. It was as if he was struck by lightning. As a senior official, he might not have known all the details, but he personally witnessed the events that happened 10 years ago. That incident lasted 3 days and nights, plunging the entire city of Ailka into chaos. Bodies piled up like mountains, and rivers of blood flowed. It was a devastating tragedy, and Logan was the reason it occurred. The demon behind the bloodshed nearly overthrew the government. Landon could never have imagined that he would unknowingly offend such a legendary figure. He was in deep shit. How is that possible? How can he be the Kirene? He has no background. He's just a boy toy. Kate shook her head repeatedly in disbelief. When she knew Dustin, he was merely Natasha's boy toy. Though he had both literary and martial talents, he was a nobody. He was just a country bumpkin who made a small name for himself in the city. But he had suddenly undergone an astonishing transformation. His status turned from a nobody to the heir of the royal family. He was now a figure of immense power. The huge change left Kate struggling to comprehend reality. How? How did things turn out like this? At that moment, even the once proud Tyler was shaken to his core. He had always seen Dustin as an insignificant person he could easily crush. He never once considered him a threat. But he finally realized how wrong he was. It turned out that the insignificant being stood at the top of the world. He was a monstrous genius that made all other geniuses feel inferior. His arrogance now appeared laughable in Dustin's presence, absurd and unworthy. This is a disaster. Arthur was overcome with panic as he broke out in a sweat. Dustin was the Reese family's Kirene and the future Prince of Theeswy. The Grants had provoked someone they never should have. It's over, we're done for. Trent fell to the ground with a thud, the color drained from his face. The elders of the Harmon family were also filled with despair, deeply regretting their actions. Nobody expected Dustin to have hidden such a terrifying background. It sent shivers down their spines. The Grant family was powerful and influential enough to have support from the Minister of War and other high-ranking officials. They were undeniably a force to be reckoned with in Balerno. But all of that was nothing compared to a colossal figure like the Prince of Theeswy. They were but insignificant pawns that would never be able to put up any resistance. They stood on entirely different planes of status. As the Crown Prince, Dustin could destroy the entire Grant family if he wanted to. And the Harmons would also suffer the consequences. You old geezer, do you realize now the power my brother holds? How dare you challenge him? You must be tired of living. Austin shouted imposingly. This is all a misunderstanding. Landon panicked and went down on his knees, apologizing repeatedly. I was ignorant and misunderstood the Crown Prince. Please forgive me, Your Highness. As he spoke, he hit his head on the ground forcefully a few times. As the illustrious Minister of War, Landon had lost all his dignity. He turned submissive and fearful.